Aye.
All opposed? Just, maybe Mike, you can, correct me if I'm wrong, but Dean Lonick did resign.
We had resignations from Dean Lonick and Mike Clark.
And Mike Lonick.
And Cliff Yankovic, which is, with his appointment to the city council, he can no longer serve on the DDA.
Right, okay.
So we have 3 vacancies, which technically we thought we appointed 2 of them. We didn't formally. So as of today, even though there's 4 members here, we technically don't have a quorum. In talking to the city attorney, we can take action if we want to. We just have to approve it next month.
Okay. So we need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Brian, any changes or corrections? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Meeting dates are on the next page.
Yeah. I put the meeting dates in. I did. Normally, we're supposed to meet the first Thursday after the council meeting. With me getting married in February, I'm pretty much gone most of February, and figured by the time we have a meeting, it'd be close to March, so I just didn't put a February meeting down. Then I put the schedule going forward. With the changes in the state law, we have to have what's called informational meetings. So we have to technically send notification to all the tax jurisdictions of those meetings. I don't know what we're supposed to do at those meetings. We're just supposed to notify them of them. So I set the April 11th and the October 10th meetings as the informational meetings.
What's that mean?
I don't really know. The state changed all the laws with the DDA, and we are required to notify them of 2 meetings that they can come to if they want to speak or something of that nature. I don't really know if the statute doesn't really state a requirement as to what we're supposed to do, but we're supposed to have it.
So it's informational for them, not for us.
Correct.
Need a motion for that at all, or are those just kind of tentative?
Mike.
What's that?
We need a motion for those dates, or is that just?
Yeah, that's just the way. Yeah, we don't have to make a motion.
Need a motion to approve the meeting dates?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second? April? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
Actually, we can't make
technically,
motions.
we
We can't make motions.
Yeah, technically we can't.
They're all consensus at this point.
So we'll go to the treasurer's report. Kind of review that. So,
Our current balance is $682,685. All of the summer TIPA has been collected. We're collecting winter taxes now, so you should expect an additional $70,000 in TIPA revenue, bringing the total to about $523,000 for the fiscal year.
okay, any questions for Sue at all? Again, technically, we don't really make any motion on that either. Just kind of informational for us. Go ahead and ask for any public comments for items not on the agenda. Yeah, we'll move on to old business, Midwest Culture Initiative.
Yeah, wanted to let you know what was going on with that. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to participate this year in the program. The waiting list is too long. Even though I inquired with them months ago, I was informed that we're just too far down on the waiting list. There's a possibility in the fall to be considered they do a fall initiative now. It's possible to be considered in the fall. Or it would be next year if we wanted to participate. Right now it's budgeted. I mean, I probably can maybe either budget next year, but also we can talk about it at budget time. There might be some reservations in doing it next year, but we can approach that at budget time.
What's the approximate cost of that?
About $20,000. So just thought I'd brief you on that. That's where we're at with it.
Can I talk to Lorraine Smulligan about alternatives?
Have I?
Yeah.
I really haven't, no. There's really, like, one of the, I'm pretty familiar with this one, this is really the only one there is, in the Midwest. Where you have, you have basically it's like a traveling road show of sculptures. And every year you get new sculptures if you participate, and I'm not familiar with anyone doing anything like that, but I can talk to, I can ask Lorraine again.
Other ideas?
Yeah, maybe other ideas.
There aren't too many communities with as active as the Arts Council as we have.
That is true. I can reach out to her.
Okay, new business, speaking of art work, fencing going out. So
Yep.
Steve, decorative fencing for the light and power.
Sure.
Speaking of artwork, instead of chain link fence.
Usually not an artsy, colory type of guy, but
Well, you don't want to get this orange box on?
Mike, do you care if I talk about this?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I like it.
No.
Fall orange,
For those of you who do not know, Lowell Power, in conjunction with Consumers Energy, just completed a gas regulating station project. If you have questions about that project, I can talk more about that. But that equipment is located on the south side of Lowell Power's office building. For decades, there's been electric infrastructure in this area, transformers, substations, standby generators, etc. Most of that equipment has been removed, and this regulating station is now located there. In the past, there was a barbed wire fence around Lowell Power's electric infrastructure. That had to be taken down for the construction of the regulating station. Consumers Energy's requirements going forward are an 8-foot fence with 2 entry points with no barbed wire around the regulating station. So on page 2, there's a Google map, and it's fairly dark, but it shows Lowell Power's office building, and I took a black Sharpie and it says new fence. So only a portion of the past fenced-in area will be fenced in going forward. And we have obtained quotes for a chain link privacy fence, and pages 3, 4, and 5 are examples of a chain link privacy fence that can be installed. That will be an improvement compared to what was there in the past, both aesthetically and just in quality. That chain link fence we had in the past was fairly beat up. The 3 quotes we obtained were from Grand Rapids Fence Company, Fence Consultants of West Michigan, and AAA Fence LLC. And the low bid for the chain link privacy fence was $8,470. So Lowell Power will be moving forward with that option unless the DDA would like to see a more decorative fence in that space. We reached out to those same 3 vendors for a vinyl fence, and the low bid was $13,800 for a vinyl decorative fence in that area. And the final 3 pages are different examples of what a vinyl fence could look like. So, long story short, the fence needs to be installed in that area per Consumers Energy's regulating station requirements. Once the fence is in, it's going to be there for decades. Just wanted to approach the DDA board if they'd like to see something a little fancier in the area, because I don't want to go back 2 years from now and rip out what's just been installed. So.
But you're still gonna pay the first $8,400.
We're going to pay the first $8,470.
Yeah,
The DDA would like to pick up the incremental increase, which is $5,330 for a decorative fence. Then Lowell Power would contract with Grand Rapids Fence Company for that vinyl decorative fence.
Maintenance and upkeep is going to be easier on the chain link fence?
Maintenance and upkeep would be easier. Ryan has talked with, or will be talking with Rich Lombard about putting some bump outs for parking so vehicles can hit the fence. The fence is also will be put a little bit further back than the past one because the line was installed right under where the previous fence was installed. But Lowell Power would take care of any maintenance going forward on with whatever fence is installed.
I like that second one. I guess it's green or black.
Yeah. That one was the best.
I think that blue one's
Yeah, I think.
awful looking.
These are examples, you can get a privacy slap fence really in almost any color.
Oh, good.
I think the chain link
These-
is probably better.
And two.
But I
chain-
don't know, I
the-
just think that,
The page 2 you
I
got
mean, you
there?
look at the fairgrounds, and if somebody goes through it.
Yeah, it truly doesn't matter to me, I just didn't want to put something up in the DDA and somebody to say after the fact, well, why didn't we put something besides a chain link fence?
Right.
Right, that's the reason why we came here, because we didn't,
Chain link.
doesn't, if the board's fine with them putting a chain link fence in, then they'll just move forward, it costs us nothing.
No.
But I just want, but I also didn't want to be criticized for that if we didn't bring it to you, 6 months from now, someone said, oh, we should have a vinyl fence there. If no one has any issue with it, then we'll just move forward with the chain link fence.
Exactly,
So the difference is 5380,
Yeah.
5330.
5330. Again, we can't make any, what's the consensus of the board?
If there's a consensus to put the decorative fence in, we'll do it, we'll just have to approve it the next month.
I know.
Chain link.
I go
I'm
chain
fine with
link.
the chain link, yeah.
I think purple.
If we go with a chain link, is there a preference in terms of color?
I like that second one.
Yeah, the second one does
The
look
darker
compared to the
green,
Tan and the.
whatever it is, darker green or black. I think
Like a
that,
blackish,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a dark? Okay.
I think
Not
that
a
blue.
not a
that-
blue?
No, that blue
No.
looks like a porta john. It does, it's like a porta john. And that first one, that brown,
The
I
one-
think is just gonna get dirty back there.
The
Cause they're
one
gonna plow that
thing-
parking lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
The regulating station does make like a hissing type noise, it's not overly annoying, and there's really no residential area there. I can't say for certain if the vinyl would be better in terms of containing that noise or not. I would think logically it would, but there's a slight hissing noise that comes out of that regulating station with the gas that moves through it.
My car won't mind
Chain link,
Chain
dark
link.
color,
Black.
black. We're all good with black? Okay, thank you guys.
But just before, just as long as you have a lot of different colors, the art council is in the back, the front of that, does anybody want to ask the art council if they have a preference color, or just don't get them involved and just make the decision?
Don't get involved. It's not their.
It's your fence.
That might just slow it down.
Yep.
Okay,
They got
So-
black
They
on
need
back of
your
theirs.
fence.
Everyone's black. They do have black.
so we'll stick with that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you for bringing that to us and giving us that option too. Update on the Unity School? Anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of brief everyone as to what's going on with the Unity School project. If you're not familiar, the city has been working with developers by the name of Todd Shaw, Jerry Zanstra. And what they're interested in doing is, what they want to do is do this in about 4 different phases. But the first thing they want to do is the old bus garage on the Unity School property. The first thing they want to do, the first thing they need to do is they'd like to convert those 14, that bus garage into 14 residential units. And they're going to do a little bit of an extension of that building and rehab that building, put units above it. And that's the first phase of what they want to do. The second phase of what they want to do is the old school. They're not 100% certain as to what's going to go there. There's been rumors out in the community what it is, and to my knowledge, none of that has been finalized by them. So one of the issues that they need in order to move forward is, in order for them to move forward with the residential development on this side, they need 7 feet of park property, pretty much from where the beginning, just above the circle part of the sidewalk here, all the way up to King Street. And so it's like 263 feet by 7 feet is what they're requesting. The issue with that is that property is considered park property. And as a result of that, there's two issues. The first one is this park property. So under the city charter, the only way that property could ever be transferred or anything of that nature, sold, transferred, disposed of, what have you, is it had to go through a proposal process. And one of the issues with that is the 7-foot parcel of property is what's considered a non-conforming use. So the only way that property could ever be disposed of to somebody else is to an adjacent parcel owner. So we actually wrote a bid, which was a very difficult bid to write, but it was written in a way that it was non-conforming. The only way you could really do it is if you were an adjacent property owner. It's really the only possible way it could have been done. And so we took that bid. We're going through that process. So the other issue with the project is back in 2012, the city received DNR trust fund grant funds for the work done at the park, because it used to be the amphitheater. So when they did that, we received the DNR funds. One of the requirements for a DNR trust fund grant is once you receive funds from that grant, that land that the park is on must remain in perpetuity as a park property. So what the DNR requires is if you were to dispose of land that's in the land grant area, that's part of the land grant process, you would have to accept new land you don't own as park property. So what was proposed to us from the developer was a pocket of land between those two buildings, which is about 3,600 square feet of land. It's basically that if you took that space right there and you made it a rectangle, that's what we would be eligible for. And we're in the process right now of putting some sketches together, some very nice sketches as to what it would look like over there for that. But we're still working on that. There are now, as I talk about, there's the first two phases of the project. There's really in actuality about 4 phases to the project, because if you don't know, Zamstra and Shaw also own this piece of property. And they would like to somehow one day develop that property. The issue with that property is that there is a light and power underground transmission line going right here. So
That they plan on using.
that light and power plans on using. There's also, from what I actually learned yesterday, is this whole area, there's de-energized underground wiring pretty much through this whole area. So that's kind of changed things a little bit from their perspective. But they also looking at possibly developing that northeast corner of the property, possibly. They're going to put parking in for whatever they do along the east side of the property. And one of the other issues that might come about through this is, rather than them developing this parcel, they may approach the city for a conversion for the north part of the park property. That north part of the park property is not part of the DNR trust fund grant. It still would have to be taken out of the master plan for the park master plan for the city, but it doesn't require the DNR trust fund grant requirements. We may or may not, we're talking about possibly doing maybe some sort of a swap down the road. It's with that and this parcel where they could put riverfront condos on that property, and we could actually use this as park space. We're still having those conversations. The park board is going to be, and the council is going to be brought aware of that here in the very near future. But they're not really asking for anything from the DEA or the city at this point. They, from financial assistance, which is nice. There's some things that we need on them, from their end, to move forward regarding their finances, but we're working on that. I do not, since this park here is still relatively unknown, I don't have an idea what it is, but we've done an estimate as to what the tax benefit would be for the residential property, and that's about $37,000 to the DDA. If that, just that part alone, if it was converted into 14 residential properties. So this project, it's a lot of moving parts, and we're still working on a lot of things, but I can tell you that they're pretty adamant. They're actually, the mayor, myself, chair of the park board and Light Power board met with them yesterday, and we're still moving forward with the project, and I hopefully this spring we're at a point where we can actually start seeing some progress on it.
Can I add a couple
Sure.
things real quick?
Sure.
Number one, that square, the south end of the old bus garage and the west end of the school, that square, as long as it's uniform with what we're doing there, sidewalks and the amphitheater and the boat launch and all that stuff, they're going to pay to develop that.
That's correct.
As a continuing part of that park.
Correct.
So it'll be uniform with the rest of that park and it won't cost us anything. That's part of the land swap, is that they agreed to pay for development. And also, we've been pretty adamant, and the parks have been pretty adamant about maintaining the vacated part of High Street so that the boat launch will remain viable and usable. It'll be a lot easier if we get that southern piece of property, but they're aware and willing to make sure that that boat launch gets maintained.
Basically, there's no deal to close off that.
No.
They'll never be accepted.
What, are you 90% sure this is going to go through? 50%?
The first phase, I'd say I'm pretty confident in. The second phase and then the other land swap, you don't know, because that school building is 50-50 on a good day. So
What are they gonna do with the 7 feet if they get it?
they're going to do patios off the back on the river view.
Okay,
So-
so what kind of issues are we gonna have when it's like Riverwalk and our Christmas? Like, I'm thinking of that, we have all the people out there, are we gonna have all these people living there complaining?
Well, that needs to be brought to their attention. I mean, they'd have to, the only right they could have is they could ask for a clear vision easement, which probably won't get. That's the only thing that could happen.
It sounds like a lot of the interest they're garnering for these units is that Riverwalk stuff is an added benefit to the people. It sounds like.
Usually the Riverwalk just goes up to here.
And they'll also have,
We went the whole way
No,
last
we
year.
go by the whole way, the Riverwalk.
All the way to the end, all the way to King Street last year.
And vendors.
With vendors, yeah.
I mean,
And I just think, like, I walk every day with my dog down there and all the people that are on there. We go through that part of the yard, so I'm not gonna be able to go on that part of the yard anymore because of them being there. Like, I just think of stuff like that, we're using the whole area.
that, it doesn't show in the picture, but
yeah, you can barely see.
that 7 feet
It's
is
minimal.
very minimal for
Very
that
minimal.
east end
It's
of
just
the
the
park.
7 feet from here.
Yeah,
It's 7
going
feet.
out
No,
there.
it won't infringe out that far.
no,
It's very minimal.
Isn't it right now like 5 feet?
It's 5 feet off the building, they need 12 for their patio.
12, yeah, okay. So last year, April, we put stuff on the property.
Yeah, we were out there.
Just so you know.
Yeah, I mean, we used their property for years, they never complained.
Right.
So, I don't see them making an issue of it now.
How long have they owned?
They've had
full ownership.
They've had full ownership probably since October.
This year?
Yeah,
Or
But-
18?
yeah, but they were working works with the other, with Tim Driscoll, who owned the property before them. And they don't, yeah, they're not gonna, the things we did in the past, there's no issues with.
Mike,
Yeah.
great, sure.
Greg Canfield, 306 Elm Street for the record. As a guy who has made some deals and fixed buildings up that are need repair and stuff, it's unfortunate that I believe the school sold originally for $300,000, maybe $400,000, but it's unfortunate that the city wasn't in a position to acquire it at that time. The area that is south of High Street that we have been taking care of for a lot of years is really important to the Riverwalk. I would be opposed to making any kind of partial deal in phases because our only leverage is right now. They have 5 feet, they'd like to get 12. I feel we need to make the deal for the southern property now because once they've made half the deal, we lose our leverage. And just in these things, that piece of property is so important. If they do decide to develop that, that really is going to handicap our use of the Riverwalk.
From the meetings yesterday, I would say with pretty good certainty that the exact opposite of that is true. That not the light and power positioning on that southern piece of property actually grants us more leverage, I think, than you think it does.
Well, there is no easement of record for that.
No.
Is there?
No.
So if they want to develop that because there's no easement, somebody's going to have to eat moving that line, which is significant money. It may go back to the school. It may be the school's problem, but
Yeah, Light and Power and Comcast and the school have infrastructure in the same footprint running from the river all the way to Monroe. And then Light and Power has infrastructure from the northwest to the southeast portion of that cable that's buried. Just for your, we don't need to discuss it, like, but the city does hold a few trump cards if we.
yeah, I'm not aware of all the details, but
Yeah.
I just, that piece of property to the south is so
Sure.
important.
The
to us.
problem's gonna be is that they will never agree to take this, for the 7 feet that we're asking, they will never agree to transfer that 7 feet for that. It'll never happen. The development won't happen.
Right, but maybe that piece on the north that they want.
And they-
Oh, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
That's different. Yeah,
That,
I agree with you.
the agreement, it sounds like, from what I gathered yesterday, is that they're willing, once things are moving forward with the original land swap, they're willing to write the second land swap into the first phase. They just wouldn't develop that property till the third or fourth phase. Because they're gonna have to bump it out, and they're gonna have to pull all that stuff out of the river on that north part. Because right now, as it sits, there's not enough usable land, but if they were able to bump it out a little bit, but then you're talking DEQ, and you're talking DNR, and you're talking.
But that's very valuable property on the river there.
Oh,
I've heard the
disagree.
plans are looking at docks for, condo owners to have dock space, and it just, our best bargaining position is now, and I'm just making my point that I think we want to be careful. Intent is one thing, but, you can say we're gonna do this, but if we can get it written into that, I just think we need to protect ourselves as best as possible.
Right, I understand.
Thank you.
So that's what we're doing, that's what's going on there currently. We're still working on it. We're working a lot with them. And hopefully, they're, at least on the residential component, they're
gonna.
they want to move very quick. They would like to begin construction this spring on the residential component.
And they're going to also bump out a little bit to the north, the old boiler building in the east.
Correct.
That'll be garages for the condos.
Correct.
So they'll have to have a driveway, I would imagine, coming from Monroe and King, almost a half circle drive, but, so that,
They don't have any intentions for the old school building?
They do.
they do,
They
but
don't know what it
they're
is
waiting
yet.
on another party
It's
to,
supposed to be in the front.
I can't really comment on what's going on there. It changes, it's changing all the time.
We know it's got asbestos in it, that's why we
Yeah.
didn't buy it.
It was more than
So. Any questions?
Pretty exciting.
Yeah,
Been sitting idle for a long time.
yeah, it'll be a unique project that comes through. So, all right, that's all I had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were the second to the last class.
Oh, we were at the meeting with those guys yesterday, and Terry gave them a whole rundown
Uh-huh.
of where the high school used to be and how his grandpa was a woodshop teacher who they blamed for burning the place down. How he used to walk under the road down with, Jerry's answer was loving the old stories. I guess he's got all of Barry's old pictures in his office of what he used to be.
He walked down the hallway and it was like this.
Yeah.
That was at that level.
I'm trying to let those guys, trying to have those guys let me get in there now before we start ripping it out, because I think it'd be cool to see
That
what's
would have
left on the inside.
been, that would have been the community center. This has got the gym, it's got a classroom.
I told him that northeast parcel right up there, the green spot, be perfect. They want to build a hockey rink building, and I'd run it for them.
Yeah.
It didn't sound like they were too interested in that.
Okay, anything else? Reports and member comments? Just like to introduce Eric Wakeman, if you don't know him, from Mercantile. He was one of the prospective DDA board members. So once it gets approved next time, he'll be sitting up here, Eric. Usually, just to give you a heads up, newest members, where you go to high school at?
Rockford. Oh, no, no.
Usually we make the newest members sing their alma mater high school fight songs.
I don't know that Rockford thing.
Why would you
Sounds
want to
me like
torture yourself during me?
We're gonna have a DDA vacancy, it sounds like. It could be East Grand Rapids, so that'd be a hard
Could be
one.
Forest Central.
Oh,
And then Mike Springer might be coming back, or,
Yeah.
and then Mike Larkin will be back.
no,
No, Mike's
No,
Mike
retired.
Larkin is retired.
Okay, Julie's
He
coming.
said 19 years with you guys is enough, you know.
Okay.
Julie, Cliff's wife, is gonna take Cliff's spot, and then Eric, maybe, it's Rockford thing, it's a monkey wrench, but, and then, yeah, Mike Springer's got his staffing levels back up, so he's interested in putting it back.
Okay, so the next meeting is tentatively scheduled for March 7th.
March 7th.
Okay. It's a nice long honeymoon there.
I'm gone for there's a week before I'm at a conference. That's where the week it should have been. Then I'm gone, and then figure by the time we get back and all that, I can just wait till the next meeting.
Okay, so nothing else, we'll move for adjournment. Is there a second?
Support.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, can